Hello? Wow. How did that happen?
There you go.
How did that happen? Hi. Good evening. Welcome to Open Mic. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Rosemary Staples, and I'm the MC. I volunteered to do this several months ago, and during the week I go, why in the world am I doing this? And then I get here, and I can't think of anything I'd rather be doing than to be with a bunch of writers and having a good time doing this. So thank you for coming. I want to welcome Robin back. She just came here from London. And another, okay. And Raju came back from India. Has anybody else been on any exotic travels? I heard you, Roselle, say that you had been to Paris. Okay, welcome back. Okay. Have you been here for the first time? Raise your hand, please. Welcome. Okay, keep coming back. Frank over there, raise your hand again. He's our musician. He's our musician for tonight. Susan Riley has an announcement to make. She and Alex both have recently been made the advisory board members of the Low Country Review. So would you tell us a little bit about that, Susan? Do you want to come up here and do it? Or?
No, I'm loud.
Okay.
Can you hear me over there?
No, we can't.
We need you on the recording.
You really want me on the microphone?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure, make it official.
Okay, we'll make it official. I'm on the microphone. The Low Country Review is a new product, a new project that's going on in our midst. It's going to be a literary and art anthology, similar to the ones that the IWN puts together every couple of years or so, but this one is going to be on a little bit larger, wider scale. It was the brainchild of a teacher in Okatee named Anthony Jones, and he's gotten the backing of the Office of Cultural Affairs here on Hilton Head. Natalie Harvey, the director there, is also on the advisory board, along with Carrie Peresta, who's another one of our members, and several other people who are have some level of expertise in publishing or in photography, in art, because there's going to be art included in this anthology as well. But the idea is that there's going to be kind of a specific low country focus to it, but that's going to stretch to Beaufort and Savannah, wider range than ours that is specifically for our members of our group. It's not to compete with ours, it's to just an extra, because we can never get enough literature and art here in the Low Country. But the idea is that it is going to be not necessarily all pieces about the Low Country, but there's definitely going to be sections of this anthology devoted to that. So that'll be encouraged that a lot of it will be about life in the Low Country. Specifically, they want a lot of things about maybe some hidden history and stories that people haven't heard yet. So that sounds intriguing to me in particular. Right now, the board has just gotten together for the first time, and we are planning to have it prior to the first written or printed anthology. There's going to be some online presence, and so a website is just in the starting phases for the Low Country Review, and so initially there will be quarterly little sneak peeks at what an anthology might be. So there will be a few things presented in electronic format online, and then once a year the plan is to have an actual published anthology that would be a bigger deal, and hopefully is something that would be sold probably throughout South Carolina and maybe Georgia. So it's just another opportunity for the people in this room and other members of IWN, but also some of those who haven't joined IWN yet but are living in the area and are interested in writing and also in photography and art, to submit and to become published authors, or if you've already been published, to be published again, but in a different format and maybe to gain an awareness with people that otherwise wouldn't have read your work. So it's a new exciting thing, and I understand Anthony's planning to join IWN as an author himself, and so stay tuned for more. We'll keep you posted.
And before we get started with the readers, I just want to introduce you to our special guest tonight. Robbie Maynor is over here, so he will be live. All right, we will start out with the first 4 readers who will come up. And Jeff Skinner is number 1 this morning, or this afternoon. He's going to read 2 poems, the right and left of poetry. One is about Jesus, and the other is about murders. So it should be very interesting. The names of the poems are Jesus and Soul's Own Reprise, and Murderous Oranges. So welcome, Jeff Skinner, who has come back from some kind of sabbatical.
Thank you. I don't know if they're the left and the right. I mean, we're all thinking politically nowadays. At least I certainly am.
Oh, I know
That's okay. That's okay. These poems really, they fit in 2 places, and they really are diametrically opposed to one another. One is a very spiritual poem. It is written really about grief and how we learn spiritually from grief, etc. And that is Jesus and Souls in Reprise. And then The Murderous Oranges is a poem really about growing up in poverty. If you've done so, and you would know, like if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of human need, kids in poverty do not even achieve safety, which is the very first rung of that human need. They basically grow up suffering. And in this book that I'm writing, there's molestation, there's jail, there's a lot of bad stuff. So this poem, The Murderous Oranges, introduces that section of the book and kind of highlights that for everyone. So first, the hopefully more uplifting portion of the poem, of the 2 poems, which is Jesus and Souls in Reprise. I am out here working with my love for the sculpture of David, and of David himself, of the old men and women who played baccarat, drinking coffee and cognac in the ultimate cosplay. How, despite their shadows and their light, and their constant fighting with sticks and stones without a lick of sense to it, every single scene of their lives wins by surprise as the comets pass Andromeda. Past my father, who before Vietnam loved the world. Past Mom, who before the war loved him. Past the county Marines lined with gorse, burning summer canary. Past our bed placed out in the snow. In the loneliest of these jailhouses, I hear the ache in the refrains of Isha, my Mateo and her I am chant, and the chants of so many we will never know as men. Sweet though they were, these children, who lived their lives as children do, swinging the world by the tail, beyond this quagmire where we touch no longer. The gloaming overdoses of too much love bruises this poetry written on papyrus, clearing the fields of future weeds. The kudsu's purple blazes in that clearing. Its bouquet houses agonal breaths floating above this savanna with its high grasses and low water. In the rainy seasons, the green rivulets become rivers of eventual succulence, put to mouth, tasting of cherry lip gloss and olives. Jesus and Souls in Reprise, grasping at grief and mending it to a malleable salt, hibiscus flowers. Now what kind of philosophy? But seriously, I mean, I grew up truly in poverty, was molested, was beat by my father. I really think that people do not, when we look at our humanity, we look at like what's going on in the world today, and I don't think we really understand what it means to be poor, not in spirit, but poor in heart. And how, what you really see is it's generally the rich who appear to be poor in heart and don't really have the sort of, can't believe I'm at a loss for a word here, but, just don't have the sort of empathy to really understand what it means to grow up without love from the very beginning and security from the very beginning of your life. So this is the murderous oranges. Hours before the noise, when chaos blooms, I hear the purest of operas in the murderous oranges. Kids twisted up in caricatures of no happiness. Their discontent, an inaudible language. Humility, their song. In dead winter's January silence, feral dogs howl, all their lives wanting to be human, to be something more than prime numbers rioting in the minds of maniacal men who need either a straitjacket or another victim. They wait in their own terror without the equations or the answers, this way or that. Long before God spoke to Abraham, before Homer created the Odyssey of his god Zeus, before Pablo seduced the world with 20 poems and the truth, there was that first time a child was born dead in this universe. The larger world, his planetary nebula.
Thank you, Jeff. Welcome back. Looking forward to more of your work. Our next, Susan Riley. Why don't you come up here? She is reading prose tonight. A timely piece from her Greetings from the Low Country blog that celebrates one of our favorite local authors.
I'm back. Yeah, it's funny. Local, when I sent you that little blurb, local is in quotation marks because so often, like if you go to Barnes and Noble, for instance, here, and there's a local author section, usually you'll see,
We're not in it.
no, none of us are in it. It's, Mary Alice Monroe and Catherine Wall, although she doesn't write anymore. She is Hilton Head. Patty Callahan Henry, who sometimes lives over in Bluffton. And you'll always see this gentleman, Pat Conroy. But we love him so much, and all those other people, we'll let them be considered local authors too, as long as they start including us as well. But I want to talk about Pat, who I never met. Have any of you here met him in person? Very nice. I moved here just as he passed away, but I've been fortunate to get to know a number of his family members. But in February of 2023, I wrote a blog post. My blog is called Greetings from the Low Country, and they are little 3-minute reads about culture, art, food, history, anything related to the Low Country. And so this particular one is called Our Own Prince of Tides. And I had opened it with a quote from Pat's Beach Music novel, where he says, "Love is action. It isn't talk, and it never has been." Despite the controversies he often spurred, one Low Country legend's legacy grows stronger each year. Late New York Times bestselling author Pat Conroy ruffled feathers, whether by championing the rights of minority students on Daufuskie Island, shining light on the taboo subject of domestic violence, or exposing hazing rituals at the Citadel. The Beaufort resident never shied away from spreading hard truths, if by doing so he could help make the world, and particularly his beloved Low Country, a better place. Now an area festival strives to keep that dream marching forth. Pat Conroy first came to the world's attention with the 1974 release of the film Conrack. Based on Conroy's 1972 memoir, The Water is Wide, which detailed the author's year teaching the native Gullah children of Defusky Island, which was referred to as Yamacraw Island in the book and in the movie. The film's title reflected the students' nickname for their new, much-loved teacher. The award-winning movie starred John Voight as Conroy himself and highlighted his efforts to show this neglected population the wider world of the mainland. Sadly, his efforts were not appreciated by the local school board at the time, which fired Conroy for disobeying instruction and conduct unbecoming a professional educator, after he complained repeatedly that the island children were not receiving an education equal to their mainland and Caucasian peers. His termination was undoubtedly the students' loss. While The Water is Wide shone a light on racial inequality, Conroy's future books continue to expose the need for societal change. The son of a Marine fighter pilot based at the USMC Air Station in Beaufort, Conroy attended the Citadel in Charleston after graduating from Beaufort High School as a basketball star and class president. His experiences at home and at the famed military college eventually led to 2 semi-autobiographical novels, as many of his other books admittedly were, The Great Santini and The Lords of Discipline. Again, these best-selling novels were made into major Hollywood films that addressed topics not openly discussed at that time: domestic violence and hazing. Filmed primarily in Beaufort, The Great Santini, which was the nickname of Conroy's real-life father, drew rancor from members of the author's own extended family who resented such public sharing of dirty laundry. Similarly, officials and graduates of the Citadel were incensed at the negative light in which the Lords of Discipline portrayed their institute. So much so, in fact, that Conroy was unwelcome at his alma mater for the next 2 decades. Always maintaining his loyalty to the goals of the institution, he was eventually invited back as a visitor and a graduation speaker in 2001. By that time, the evils of hazing had become more widely acknowledged in schools and organizations across the country, and Conroy's initial complaints were seen for what they always had been: a call to justice and a plea to improve a well-intentioned but flawed system. Following Pat Conroy's death from cancer on March 4th, 2016, several thousand mourners attended his funeral on Ladies Island, including an honor guard of Citadel graduates from the class of 2001, whom he had invited to his hypothetical future funeral during the convocation speech he had given them nearly 15 years prior. Not long after, the nonprofit Pat Conroy Literary Center opened in Beaufort as a memorial to the man who had so loved the Low Country and its authors. A mentor to so many writers, he would be delighted by the myriad workshops, lectures, book clubs, youth camps, author signings, and festivals offered by the center. Perhaps the event that most represents his living legacy, though, is the one named after the day he died. Each year on the anniversary of Conroy's death, the March 4th, F-O-R-T-H, celebration is held to honor the major themes of his writing and teaching life, including social justice, inclusivity, conservation, education, and storytelling. Co-sponsored in part by the Penn Center, local schools and bookstores, literacy organizations, and the South Carolina Humanities Foundation, this festival features speakers and entertainers who, like Conroy himself, are not afraid to tackle the tough truths that can make our wonderful Low Country even better. This year, let's all march forth and join the tide of change. And this year, this was written 3 years ago, and at that time it was a one-day festival. Now, on the 10th anniversary of Pat's death, this year it's a week-long festival, and it starts next Monday and it goes through that following weekend. So check out the Pat Conroy Literary Center online and see all the different things. They've got different activities every day, every night, speakers, authors, classes to go to. It's just a fascinating opportunity that we, as people in the Low Country, get to take part in.
Thank you, Susan, for bringing that to our attention and reminding us of all of his movies and all his books and his wonderful stories. 10 years. All right. Our next person is Barry Dixon. He is going to be reading a couple of prose, right? Who knows what it's going to be about? So welcome, Barry.
Thank you, Rosemary. Good evening. Each month I have to make a big decision. Am I reading poetry or prose? I'm in a prose mood tonight. I see a couple of new faces, so let me tell you that these are micro-memoirs from a collection called Barry Who? 33 unforgettable micro-memoirs from someone you never heard of. And they're just little incidents from life. True stories, very short, unrelated to each other. The first one I'm reading is because it's, I'm losing them already. It's somebody's birthday, and you're gonna have to listen to this little story to find out who. September 1984. This is called Genius. Hal was the first guy I knew with one of those new computers. We weren't sure what the heck you could do with it. Some neat graphics we heard, but there it was, and there we were trying to get it to work. We got off to a good start. It turned on. Lights and noises, wow. We performed that cool new gesture, the high five. Now comes the test. Let's make this computer actually do something, like, compute. Let's see, push these keys in this sequence, something should come on the screen. We pushed, nothing. Wait, you have to hit enter, duh. We hit enter, nothing. Back to the manual. Before we did that, it looks like we were supposed to do this. So we did this. But we already did that before we were supposed to, so doing this is now meaningless. How do you start over, Hal asked. There has to be a way to put it in reverse, I replied. This is not a car, Barry. Hit that, I suggested, pointing. Hal hit that. Nothing. For what seemed like 10 minutes, we entered and clicked and restarted and moused and clicked. We tried everything we knew and obviously a lot we didn't know. Nothing. Finally, Hal, not a patient man to begin with, could no longer take it. F-U-C-K space Y-O-U.
There you go.
Enter. Some noise, a little flashing, and there it was on screen in large font. Your place or mine? God bless you, Steve Jobs. May you rest in peace. It was Steve Jobs' birthday yesterday, and yes, he did program that into his early computers. One more short one. October 1977, on the way to the top. The elevator doors were closing, but there was no way I was going to miss my meeting up on 7. When I forced my shoulders in, the doors sprung open. Good thing, since otherwise I would either not be here or I'd be here in a more compressed form. I took a half step in and felt the doors close along my backside. Immediately I was aware this was the smallest elevator in the fancy lobby of this Madison Avenue skyscraper, where I worked as a junior copywriter. When I pressed 7, I noticed only one other button lit. Penthouse, P. I looked up, and there they were, almost, it seemed, right up against my face. Straight ahead, Lester Wonderman, founding guru of direct response advertising. Time magazine said this man created 20 million jobs in his life. To his left, William Simon, former Secretary of the Treasury in the Ford administration. To his left, Ed Ney, CEO of Young and Rubicam, the ad agency that employed me. Next to him, A.Z. Taylor Morton, Treasurer of the United States. And on her left, lo and behold, Hubert Humphrey, former Vice President of the United States. Them facing out, me facing them. They seemed friendly enough, staring, of course, at me. What in the world does one do at a moment like this? Look them in the eye, look at the floor. William Simon had a smile, so I looked at him. Suddenly, I felt I should speak. Yes, I should say something. But what? Sorry? How about good morning? You can't go wrong with good morning. Wait, I got it. I scanned the row as I spoke. You're probably wondering why I asked you all here today. Making a bunch of big shots laugh felt pretty good, but not as good as the doors opening on 7, me turning around and getting the hell out of here. Thank you.
Now, that was some quick thinking there. I'm impressed. That was Robin, back from London, is going to read some poems for us. For those of you who love Valentine's Day and can't get enough of the holiday, she will read some more of her holiday poems. Welcome, Robin.
Hi. Since I know so much about love, thank you, Alex. So, I've always been fascinated by the whole nature of attraction, why you meet some lovely person and you go, meh, and you meet someone else and go, hubba hubba. What is that? How does that happen? So I wrote this piece about that. Distraction, attraction. Transfixed. I watch the hands work, turning belts, pushing buttons, swiveling pieces. Manly perfection. A melding of brawny laborers' wide palms, sturdy strength, a delicate artist tapering long fingers, sculptured flesh. David's hands. I want my hands to disappear in those hands, want them to touch my cheek, press into my shoulders, travel me. I blush. An innocuous moment threading a film projector flutters, yet eyes never meet, no one speaks. We avoid touch in that breath, but the small flicker imprinted as indelible as inking my skin into his. I may not know anything, but I can write it, right? So, a couple years ago, I visited the Manico House in Charleston, and if you haven't been there, I recommend it. It's really interesting. But for me, it was the place I first saw and learned about the role that it plays in courtship. It's something called a joggling board. So if you don't know what that is, that's your Google tonight. And it inspired this. A Charleston courtship. They sit on opposite ends of a joggling board, guard positions, bounce by jiggle inch to a middle mingle. Each jounce costs symmetry. The balance in solitude breaks. Bricked windows, false doors, protect hearts. But such facades mask a real danger. The unrisked, miss quaking, unbroken touching, lose the shared awe in a swollen moon, vast stretches of green marsh grasses or bamboo forests, the beauty stuffed into spring, bursting. Like the Spanish moss that drapes his trees, the Charleston man clings, but takes nothing away, granting she resist or allow the gravity that pulls. Supple hands play her spine like a fretboard, jolt her closer. She walks the morning surf, remembers fingers sliding from steel guitar to her, jostled hearts beating in time. So, yeah, this is a new one. You know that moment that you go from thinking that you're just having fun and, maybe dating casually, and then all of a sudden you realize you're kind of there and don't want to leave, and you're bringing all your baggage with you, which at my age, it'd be a lot of baggage. And so there's this whole ambivalent feeling to all of that. I think I'm gonna write a whole series with this title, but here's this one. The closest exit may be behind you. Yeah, I fly a lot. A sunstorm brightens night skies. Neon green and magenta flashes. Dawns a flickering lantern through leaves turned firebranch, Spanish moss lit, a tiki torch burning live oak limbs. Like a homing pigeon, I follow a charted route. A radio switches to Since I Lost My Baby. I expect the grief the notes trigger 10 years snarled in word and melody haunts. I know the film clips. My heart pills turn pink, a near full moon pasted to inky paper. The sink holds 3 days of dishes. Dust cakes the ceiling fan, dog hair fills corners, baseboards, storm debris trashes the deck and car. He lurks at our meeting spot. In my past, I'd spy you along the terminal walkway. We'd grab hold as if we'd never let go. But this night, with him, I walk through your ghost. Using a paper map, I follow the moon home. The moon lights the stop sign. Stunned, I forget to move on. Scars can be sexy. A late night tide swallows the tire swing. Its slim rope pierces the flotilla of marsh reeds. Bare feet stick in murky bluff mud.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you for bringing some love in here tonight. Okay, if you're wondering who those folks are over in the corner who aren't coming up here and reading, they are part of Hilton Head Island Jammers. They're all musicians. And they alternate and come and help out and sing for us. And tonight we're having, for the first time, Frank from Michigan. And he's here part-time and has been coming for 3 years. So welcome to Frank, who is going to be playing a few tunes for us tonight.
Thank